Uh, Today's first part of this program is being broadcast live by our flagship station, 700 WLW, and there's a reason for that. Come the end of the 2019 season, yeah, I'm retiring as a broadcaster with the Reds. It's something I've thought about a long time. It's something I've anguished over more than anything I've anguished over in my life. I wake up at night at 4 o'clock in the morning and I stare off into the darkness and think about what I'm doing. I've talked to a lot of people from all walks of life, and I've done an impromptu poll over the last 3 years because I knew this day was going to come eventually, and I always ask them, whatever walk of life they were from, doctors, lawyers, whatever the case might be. And they'd retired. And I said, is there anything that you miss more about retiring? And they almost, without exception, they would say, I miss the people. And this is tough for me. That's the thing I'm going to miss most. Nobody loves their job more than I do. I love to broadcast baseball. I work for wonderful people that have been awfully good to me. And I don't think this thing will hit full force with me until a year from now when everybody's getting ready to go to spring training and I'm not. But I think now is the right time. I've got my health. I'll be 77 in July. I've got my health. There are things that we want to do, and I want to be physically able to do them. You know, we are in a business where if we're healthy and we don't make the people that we work for mad and they continue to like your work and the fans like your work, you can work as long as you want to. It's a wonderful thing, but it's also a curse. Because I know a lot of guys in my profession at the big league level, and I'm not going to name names, that are still working today because that's the only thing they know how to do. And quite honestly, I don't know that they know what they're going to do or look forward to the things that they've never done in their lives, in their working lives. And I've come to that conclusion, that this is the right time for me to walk away from the broadcasting end of this business. I'm going to be around. I'm going to be affiliated with this great organization for years to come. I wouldn't have it any other way, and thank God they feel the same way. My family is here today. My wife, Amanda, who has asked me a million times over the last 4 or 5 months, are you sure this is what you want to do? And whatever my decision was would have been fine with her. If she wanted me to continue work, that's fine. You know, my son, Tom, my 2 daughters, Ashley and Dawn, are here. Amanda's mom and dad, Pat and Gary Ingram, are here. I wanted all of them here to hear what I had to say. I look around this room and I see so many people that I've known for years and years and years and have developed. There might be the president calling. It's been a labor of love. I've loved working with the network stations. It's something that I've been very, very proud of over the years because we've certainly had one of the largest networks of any professional club. There are others that may have more, but we're up there every year as one of the top 4 or 5 professional teams in terms of numbers of stations. I am really looking forward to the 2019 season because I think what Dick Williams and his people did a month or so ago, or longer than that, with the trade they made with the Dodgers has energized what we like to refer to as Reds country, and probably more to come. So I think they made major inroads to start down the path to get this club back to the way it once was, and at least for 1 more year, I'll be a part of that. I thank all of you folks for how nice you've been to me all these years. I look forward to seeing you throughout the course of this season and hopefully in seasons beyond where I'm just another employee of this organization. Thank you very much. I appreciate all you've done for me, and I hope the feeling is mutual. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to introduce now the CEO of this great organization, Mr. Bob Castellini. Bob.
Wow. Marty, you could have talked all afternoon and we would want to listen to you. And just a Memorial Day for everybody in so many different ways. We've known that 2019 would be an historic year for the Reds and for all of Major League Baseball as we collectively celebrate the 150th anniversary of professional baseball. And we celebrate it right here. What a fitting way to leave after 40 years, Marty, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of baseball right here in Cincinnati, because this is where it started. The announcement we just heard from Marty, that this will be his last season with a Reds on radio, play-by-play broadcaster, adds an even greater significance to this season that is about to begin. This will be Marty's 46th season calling Reds games, making him the voice of this team for 30% of its existence. Think of that. It's 150 years old, and Marty's 30% of the broadcasting force behind the franchise. And not just a broadcaster. He was, I mean, all broadcasters work hard and they are excellent, but there isn't anybody in baseball, certainly in our area, maybe one other legend, Vin Scully, who has gained the stature and the respect as a Major League Baseball announcer and broadcaster than Marty Brennaman. Marty's extraordinary run as Reds broadcaster has cemented a place for him within Reds history, and it allowed him to make history of his own with his field of broadcasting. Here are just a few of the honors earned by Marty, and these are legendary and unbelievable. In 2000, he won the Ford C. Frick Award presented annually by the National Baseball Hall of Fame to a broadcaster for major contributions to the game of baseball. The National Sportscasters and Sports Writers Association has awarded Marty the Ohio Sportscaster of the Year honor 12 times. That's a lot to live up to, Tom. You're on the way. He was named Virginia Sportscaster of the Year 4 times. And in 2005, Marty was inducted into both the National Sportscasters and Sports Writers Hall of Fame and the National Radio Hall of Fame. The exclusivity of being a Hall of Famer in broadcasting is understood and appreciated by all of you fellow broadcasters in the room. And to answer the question running through everyone's mind as to who is going to replace Marty, it is no easy task to replace a Hall of Famer, particularly Marty Brennaman, who's been with the Reds for the 46 seasons. We are going to take our time and stay open-minded as we evaluate different options going forward. We did the same in determining who would follow Joe Nuxhall. Marty would be the first to credit Joe as playing a huge part in his success. Who couldn't help but love that combination of Marty's captivating professional play-by-play measured against Joe's homespun charm as color analyst. Throughout Reds country, Marty and Joe were a staple of summertime. Fans tuning in not just for the love of the Reds, but because they loved Marty and Joe. And now we enjoy the same magnetism with the combination of Marty and Jeff Brantley, the Cowboy. In talking with Marty about when to make his announcement, we could not think of a better moment than right here, right now, with you as radio partners present. It is you who turned over your airwaves for our Reds on radio broadcasts. Your listeners are connected to our games because they value you, their local radio affiliate. We appreciate our radio network very, very much, maybe more than you know. I can't thank you all for being here today enough. Radio is a cornerstone of our franchise's history and success. There is no doubt that having Marty, a Hall of Fame broadcaster, representing our team on your airwaves for 46 seasons has been a game changer for all of us. It would be impossible to fully capture what he has meant to our fans and to us. Suffice it to say, we are forever indebted to him for his service. We're excited to make Marty's farewell season an integral part of the 150th year anniversary celebration of Reds history and baseball history. We invite you to join us in honoring Marty's career throughout the upcoming months. Today is the first of many tributes that will be offered to you, Marty, one of the greatest radio broadcasters ever to live. Thank you very, very much, Marty Brennaman.
We've got a few minutes. If anybody has any questions here for me, I'd be happy to answer them in the time that we have allotted before we get to our Q&A with our esteemed baseball people. Any questions? Huh? I don't know. You know, I had a meeting, I don't know, 3 years ago with Ben Scully, and in his last year, it was his 67th year. And he and I were together, just he and I, for about 35 minutes. And when you had that kind of time with him, you feel like you have an audience with a pope. And I asked him, you know, because like I said earlier, I knew this was going to happen someday. I said, why do you retire? He said, it's time. 67 years is enough. And I said, yeah, but you sound as good as you've always sounded. He said, it's just time for me to walk away. And I said, are you concerned about it? He said, I'm scared to death. He said, because you can talk to 1 million people who have retired, but you're the one that has to walk that road. Whatever, you may talk to people who are thrilled to death that they picked the right time and they've never been happier, or you might talk to people who do it and 6 months or a year later they realize they made a mistake. So he said, I'm hopeful that I've made the right decision. And after 67 years, I'd say he probably did. As I said earlier, I've anguished over this thing like nothing in my life. And again, it has to do with the people, and it has to do with the guys you work with. Bob mentioned Jeff Brantley. I've had so much enjoyment sitting down in that booth with him and broadcasting baseball and working with Jim Day and Tom and Chris Welsh and Jim Kelch and everybody who I've worked with. I've liked them all. And I know some situations where that ain't the case. So I've been blessed in that respect, and I've worked for good people. You know, it is what it is. I'll figure out something to do.
Marty, I have a question for you over here, this side.
Yes.
When you look back on your career and everything and going through, what moment stands out to you as just a truly remarkable experience?
I don't know that there was a single moment. The thing I was blessed about was coming here to this city. I've had offers to go almost everywhere there is. I've got a contract written out in legal pad paper hanging in my room downstairs in the basement of a 5-year deal that was offered to me to do the Boston Red Sox back in 1981. And I've had offers like that, and every time I had to make a decision, the answer was always the same, and that's no. I'm happy where I am. I helped to raise 3 kids in this city, and I can't imagine living anywhere else where anybody could have a better lifestyle and enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed living in this town. And so to pick one moment out, that would be impossible. I'm just blessed that I'm one of 6 guys that did big league baseball for 40-plus years and did it for one team. And I'm in pretty good company. Vince Scully and Jack Buck, Denny Matthews, who's still working with Kansas City, Bob Uecker, who's still working in Milwaukee, Jaime Jarrín, who is a Latin American broadcaster with the Dodgers, and me. 6 guys. And I'm proud of that, because in a business it's transient as hell and everybody feels like the grass is always greener. I never aspired to do that. I aspired to live somewhere where I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if I had to look back on it, I wouldn't change a thing. Nothing. Yes.
Marty, when you first started the first broadcast, can you take us back that day? Was there anything unique, anything special about that?
Well, two debuts, one in spring training and the opening game against the Braves in 1974, and they're both conversation makers, because in 1974. The Reds opened the spring training schedule against the Pittsburgh Pirates in Bradenton, Florida, and I was scared to death. And I got through the broadcast, and I felt like I'd done a decent job in replacing Al Michaels, who was very popular here, and as he's gone on to become one of the great sports broadcasters of all time. And then the next day, we opened at Al Lopez Field in Tampa, our first home game, and I opened the broadcast by saying, "Good afternoon, welcome to Al Michaels Field in Tampa, Florida." I was mortified. Now, we went to a commercial break, and Joe said, "I'll be damned." He said, "We ain't even got the season started yet, and I've got material for the banquet circuit next fall." And then, of course, opening day against the Braves was when Henry Aaron hit a 3-run home run off Jack Billingham in the first inning to tie Babe Ruth's all-time record. And in fact, Amanda and I just came from Florida, where we spent 2 days with Jack and his wife, Jolene, who have become dear friends of ours. And I never failed to bring that up. He fell behind 3-1, and then Henry hit one over the left field wall. And when that inning ended, Joe said, "What the heck do you do for an encore?" I said, "I don't know." I mean, maybe there was some message behind that, given the fact that here we are talking about retiring at the end of my 46th year. Yes.
And Marty, any thoughts about, at this point, a book?
Not right now. I don't know. I've talked a lot about that. I've had publishing houses contact me, and it takes a lot of time. I sure won't do it while I'm involved in my last season. Maybe down the road I will, but I don't know. I don't know. Question? Yes, sir.
How great is it to be able to work with your son?
Well, you know, I've often been of the opinion that the greatest compliment that a youngster of yours could pay you is to decide to follow in your footsteps. And I never pressured Tom, I never pressured Ashley or Dawn about doing what they wanted to do for their livelihood. It's not my place to do that. I know a lot of lawyers and I know a lot of doctors who have done that. And if it works out, it's fine. If it doesn't, you stand the risk of having that youngster point his finger at you and say, you made me go into this field and I didn't want to. And so when Tom came home one summer from Ohio University and we were in the car together, and he very casually said to me one day, "I think I want to get into the same business you're in." And I said, "That's great." And thank God it's been a pretty good road for him as it's been for me. I've been very, very proud of him, but I'm proud of my kids. I got good kids. I don't know how much of it I deserve credit for, but I just thank God that I do. Question?
Hopefully the door's still open to come back and call a big game, maybe a World Series game in the next year or two?
You mean after 2019?
After this year?
No. I know guys that have retired and then they come back and do 25 or 30 games or 35 games the next year or the year after that or the year after that, and they're taking games away from the guys who are in place and should be doing those games and not him. I'm not going to be one of those persons. I'll do my last Reds game toward the end of September this year. I'll go for that. End of October would be a fitting way for me to say goodbye.
Marty, you've said on air before that you're never going to have a farewell tour once you make the announcement. Does this change things?
I may get shirts made up like rock stars do, and the Marty Brennaman 2019 farewell tour in list of cities. No, I feel very honored that the club is planning things, and and things will occur that only happens once, and that's when you're leaving the business. I'm honored by it, but I'm also going to be very uncomfortable by it. I would have just as soon walk away after the last game and announce that day I'm leaving, but in many conversations I've had with Phil Castellini, he made me understand it's not fair to the fans, it's not fair to the club, and I agree with that.
Joe, Jim Davis from Huntington, West Virginia, Ashland, Kentucky. You mentioned other cities. Besides Great American Ballpark, what other ballpark have you walked into and went, wow?
Probably Dodger Stadium. And the thing that amazes me about that park is that it looks almost, except for the internal things that they've done to it, they have made improvements in that park that really have not affected the aesthetics of it. And Fenway Park in Boston's the same way. But, you know, there are no bad ballparks in baseball anymore. There are just some that are better than others. And I think we have one of them. I think we had the most fan-friendly park in baseball. And we've seen them all. And I don't know that there's a better ballpark where fans can leave at the end of a game and not say with great pride how well they were treated while they were there. Is that it? All right. That's one of the toughest days of my life. I've gotten over it now.